Hey, this is indeed Walt from the Comic Book Men, and you're listening to the iWalter Show.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
iWalter. Yes, this is me. This is iWalter. Or I should say just Walt or Walter. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. Just saying. Anyway, yeah, I wasn't going to do a show tonight. I was supposed to be at a comic book convention, I thought, but I just figured, you know what? The more I thought about it, it just seems way too freaking expensive. So what I end up doing is I end up catching up on a little bit of sleep today, or I should say almost, actually at this point, it's Sunday morning, yesterday. And from there, actually, what I did was I went over the Walmart around the house, which I want to talk about in a minute with my parents. I met them over there. They actually left the house, so I was able to kind of wash up and not have them peeking through my windows, as my dad would put it. So there's that, and I met up with somebody. Anyway, before I go too much further, I do have a very large segment. I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and it was like, you know what? I listened to most of it on the way home because an hour of his show, about 30 minutes of it, if not more, is probably commercials. And, you know, it was like, okay, let me just start listening to the second hour of Rush Limbaugh, you know, from Open Line Friday. And it was really difficult just to cut it back on what, you know, a segment that really kind of supports what I always am saying about people and about our government and how, you know, it always seems like I'm just bitching and complaining about this stuff, that I'm always, you know, making this stuff up about how bad our economy is, how people are really sponging off the government, how, you know, for the last 7.5 years, Obama has totally destroyed our nation and other things. It's just me complaining about work. You know, when I hear it from other, you know, my friend Matt, her say it's my fault, or he won't say it's my fault, but he will insinuate in one way that it's not, or say it's not, but then he insinuates that it is, if that makes any sense. So anytime I can find anything, and I'm just using him because he's the easiest example. I normally don't want to give examples, but then I'm left constantly, well, who are you talking about? Who you're talking about? Well, since it will make you more appeased if I say it's you, then that should end the story, because otherwise I can't come off of people off the top of my head. So that's the only reason I'm saying that. Otherwise, like I said, I could really care less. Care less on who exactly it is. I just generalize on those statements otherwise, but I can't get away with that most of the time. So I have to, you know, at least throw one name in the bunch just to get it out of the way. The thing why I'm mentioning about this right now is I will play the segment, and even so, I mean, yeah, you're talking, let me see, that an hour show, an hour of Rush is about a half an hour, but even so, that's generally the rule of thumb with him. I'm trying to see if it actually gives me a time limit. It does not, but I know from experience, usually if you cut all his commercials out, it's about a half an hour for an hour of showtime. So, I mean, some of them may have been a little longer, but for, you know, most of the time it's like that. So I try to cut it back as much as possible, but he had so much that was like right on the money of what I'm always talking about, you know, about people, about the situation with these jobs, you know, meaning the $15 an hour deal and stuff like that. I'm not very good on trying to say what I'm thinking clearly enough that people actually understand or can comprehend what I'm trying to come across on saying. So having Rush Limbaugh do it was just made it like, okay, he's actually saying what I'm trying to say, but he's doing it with much more clarity than I would ever do. So I was like, okay, I'm going to definitely play the second hour of his show. He went into it, but the best I could cut it back without actually, because he was saying, everything that my shows, pretty much every show I've talked about so far has been wrapped up in the segment, by the way, is 12 minutes. So in the 12 minutes he's talking, he was basically saying everything I say in, hours worth of show segment, but not as clear as the way he did it. So there were some pauses in this 12 minutes too, which, I could have cut it out, but it just would have kind of ruined it because he was taking, I guess he might have been looking over his context or contents, not context. And maybe it is context. But either way, it was like, okay, he's saying exactly what I always am trying to say. I just don't do it very clearly. And this man's doing it like that. If you don't understand that, then you really do have a problem kind of situation. So I'm going to play that 12 minutes. It's not quite, but you might as well say if you round it properly, it's, if you round it up to the next minute, it's literally 12 minutes long. So we'll play that and let people know. I probably won't do too much discussion because, again, tomorrow's the very last day. Now there's 2 conventions going on. One I was seriously considering on doing. I think at this point I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna let it go. I'm not gonna do it. But the one was in Philadelphia, which is just way overpriced. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they're asking. So. But I'll go to that one anyway because I'm not going to spend any money at this point on getting an autograph. Now, get this. Chris Helmsworth, he was the one who played Thor. Oh, I got to turn something off. Maybe it was my mail. Chris Helmsworth, somebody actually went to a convention I know who's on Facebook, got a picture with Chris Helmsworth. That's $950 just for a picture and to say, hey, I got the VIP pass. Now, he bought a Thor hammer, too. Chris Helmsworth actually played Thor. He spent $950 on to see him. And it's like all you got out of it, dude, was a photo with Chris Helmsworth. Now, Chris Evans was there, too. I mentioned this before, who actually played Captain America. It's like, okay, I'd like to meet these guys, but not at the cost of over $1,000. Now, it says, if you look on Wizard World, it will say, Sunday's show is, like I said, for Sunday's show to see, get a VIP ticket for one fucking day. And it's the shortest show, by the way. I don't even know if I'll be able to make it. I'm going to try to take a train down if I can. If worse comes to worse, I may drive down, but I seriously doubt it. Down to Philadelphia to Market Street. Just to walk around again. Because, again, what it's going to cost for, let me just tell you this much. For Chris Helmsworth is $950 plus $45 in taxes. So that is just ridiculous. That's just beyond crazy. $1,000 to see the guy for pretty much one day. And, you're going to get a picture, and it's going to be a picture that they will take for you. Before, again, you were able to take your own pictures. Now that's impossible. You're not allowed to do that anymore. You have to. Now, it depends, because some of those actors, if they're pretty cool, they'll say, hey, I'm really not supposed to do this, but we'll let you do it. We'll let you take a picture of us. It depends on the person who, I don't know if it's even an agent, but they assign somebody to work with these actors. And I'm sure this weekend they probably did get quite a few people, to supervise these actors, because they don't want to lose any. They don't want to lose one penny. Obviously, they don't want to lose any money. They don't want to lose one penny because it was obvious when they're charging $1,000 just to meet Chris Helmsworth on today's show that is only from 10 till 5 o'clock. So, again, I would go down just for the simple fact that I want to go down, just to walk around. I didn't even charge my camera yet, so I'm going to have to do that before I even go to bed and hope it's enough time, because by the time I go to bed, actually, it's only going to be, to get down there, I'm going to have to get up in a few hours from now. So that's going to be really difficult for me. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, it's just fun. Now, what I was going to say, what I really wanted to go to, and it's just, I was actually as close as on when I found out about it Friday night at work. I was taking a break. And it was like, okay, I didn't know about this. I was trying to look at tickets again to see, am I going to do this or am I not going to do this? Am I going to do this or am I not going to do this? Am I going to go to the Philadelphia convention? Every time I seen one, I thought, hey, it's for sure they're going to finally drop the price on the ticket, even for Michael J. Fox, because initially I wanted to go see him. Nope, they left it at where they started it, which was like, I think just for him alone, just for a photo of Michael J. Fox alone, was $400. And it was like, you know what? I hate to tell you, I'm not paying $400 just for a photograph of a man, and it doesn't include anything else. Might include your thing. It's like, that's just too much. I paid as probably that. A friend asked me, my friend Matt, well, you paid that much before, Walter, in the past. Yeah, but I got it. This is for concerts. I actually got a concert out of it. They do give you something, and they may actually give you a few minutes at least, but this is just a photo, nothing else. So that is the other thing I've done in the past is way too much, but this is just plain ridiculous. $500 to start, or $400 for the most simplest one, and then it goes up to over $1,000 just to get a photograph of somebody. You can do that maybe once or twice. I don't know how these people did it, because it actually, believe it or not, I think if I remember correctly, it did sell most of the tickets out, even at that price of $13 and $14. Even I think some of the packages may have went up to as high as $2,200 this time around down in Philadelphia. So it's like, okay, this is like a little too much. Now, even for me to go tomorrow, if I do go down, I'm going to buy my ticket around here, and I'll take a train down, or if not the train, I'll try to drive down, and and that's more than enough for me anyway. I'll sit there for a couple hours and, come home. But before I go home, by the way, I will kind of make sure to, what do you call it? I'm going to make sure to stop at the Hard Rock Cafe, because that's one place I actually really do enjoy going to when I'm down there. That's one of my motives. Oh, I don't think I mentioned it yet, so I apologize. I'm already going a little bit too far, and I don't want this to be, again, I really don't want this to be a long show tonight, because I'm going to get up in a few hours if I can. If not, we'll save myself money. Cut to the chase with many things. The one-day ticket's $45 plus $5 or so and surcharges. So you're talking like about $50, a little over $50. Yeah, that's really expensive just to walk through the door at this convention. So yeah, that alone is crazy, I know. But it's better than $1,000 or $2,000 just to get a photograph of somebody. And this will be the first time. It's going to be really hard for me, because I enjoy getting photos with celebrities, even though now it's just out of hand. Before, you actually got a photo and you got to talk to people, you got to shoot the shit with them a little bit, and they were really cool. Now it's just become a whole money market scheme, and then they just cattle you through. Like, literally, you feel like a cattle being pushed through a line. Not to like your death, but it feels close to it, though. I'll tell you that much. So, yeah, that's one thing. It's not as entertaining as it used to be. So that's number one. $50 for that. Now, if I would have went where I really wanted to go, I found out on, believe it or not, I found out this on Friday night. I found this out on Friday night. I did not know until then that here in Washington, D.C., which is 2.5, 3 hours away, they had a comic book convention going on. Of all people, Kevin Smith was there on Friday night, which I don't really care. I got a ticket to go see him in Philly in the next couple months anyway, so I don't need to see him like 90 times. I already creep out the guy as it is. I don't need to do it anymore by like literally going to every state and seeing him. So, but it was an incentive. I would have won, but the price of the ticket, instead of being $1,000, $2,000 for the grandiose scheme, it was expensive, but not as high. It was like a couple $100. But that's not the point either. The real thing was, who was there? The brand new and still existing Doctor Who of Peter Capaldi. He's going to only be there, though, tomorrow. They were selling VIP tickets for other people, too. VIP tickets for Peter Capaldi, but he's only there. He's coming in tomorrow, and he's only going to be there tomorrow only, and it's actually only going to be for a brief time, which indicates to me the man must be doing other things. He might be, like, they're not shooting Doctor Who this year, but he might be working on other TV specials or TV shows, because I'm sure he's gotten more, like, he's always been pretty big in England on TV shows and stuff like that. Probably even movies, he's probably had small parts. I think he actually did. Like, I forget which one. I'm going to take an educated guess. I'm going to go out on a limb. But I think he was actually in that last version of Godzilla. He might have had a part. Like, stuff like that. Let me at least say that. So he's gotten bits and, small parts in movies, probably even the Avenger movies or something like that. He's just wasn't known as anybody besides Peter Capaldi. It wasn't until he became Doctor Who. It was like, oh, that's Doctor Who now. So people really recognize him where they didn't recognize him before. So that alone is really cool. But he's going to be down there. But, yeah, it would be just being pushed through a line and getting a picture. But the one in Washington actually looks like the ones I used to go to. Because they're trying something new. They actually have it in Washington, D.C. And I would have went down there for that reason, and also to catch up, because I have my one brother who lives in Washington, D.C. I would have tried to meet up with him. So I looked at the hotels, and believe it or not, hotels in Washington, D.C. aren't cheap. Most of them were like $200 to $400 a night, not for a couple nights a night. So I found one actually was decent because I waited till Sunday. I was like, okay, I'll just get a room for Saturday night until Sunday, which you can't. You have to pay for the whole day. And when it comes into the weekends, and they can't sell, out their rooms throughout the weekends, a lot of hotels were booked. And I think it was because of this comic book convention. Also, the actress who played his companion, Peter Capaldi's, who just left, she's also in Washington, D.C. as we speak. Capaldi was only coming in for Sunday, but she was there, and you could get a VIP with her. Both of them were only, it is a lot of money, but it's not $2,000 a lot. It was like, I think, $200, which is a lot of money for a VIP ticket. Gave you the pass for the weekend in Washington. It was called, believe it or not, of all things, the name of the comic book convention in D.C. I keep on wanting to say Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. It was called Awesome. I'm not even kidding. It was like I heard that name because a woman I work with, she always makes this joke and she goes, awesome, like she's making a joke out of saying, awesome, this is awesome. So the name of the convention was Awesome. So that part was kind of funny that they named it Awesome. But I would have won because it was awesome. It had Doctor Who, the present Doctor Who, and his companion, which to my view, she is the companion because the show's not going to be back for another 2 years now. It's going to seem like 2 years because it's not going to come back this fall. They don't have any new episodes because it's in hiatus. So the next season does not start until 2017, and it won't be until fall of 2017. Not like the beginning of the year. No, it's not going to be until fall of 2017. So yeah, it's kind of like it is pretty much like 2 years. So that would have been really, really cool, in my opinion, to go see today. If I would have wanted to, drive 3 hours away, I would have done it actually Saturday. I was thinking, okay, I'll get up, even if I get up at 8 o'clock, I'll be down there at 11 o'clock at the hotel. Now, he's only going to be there doing the photo shoot for like a small window. He's doing different types of photo shoots, but he's only there for a few hours, because that happened before years ago. I saw Peter Davison, and the same thing happened then, where Peter Davison actually was, he came into when I was a kid, and he was the Doctor Who at that present time, and he flew in from London, I think, if I remember correctly. He flew in from London. This was years ago. This is like 30 years ago. He flew in from London. And he was at the Doctor Who actually back then it was a Doctor Who convention in Philadelphia. That's all it was, Doctor Who mainly. And he flew in and he says, "Well, I can't stay very long," and he was on tied for time. So he came in and he says, "Why I can't stay very long," and he says he had to leave abruptly. So you bought a ticket for the convention strictly to see Peter Davison. Did I mention it? It was Peter Davison. And then find out, like, oh, I got to leave again because I'm shooting a TV show. So I had to leave again. So that being said, that was an interesting thing that time. So, yeah, I mean, what was I going to say? So that stuff happens. I think this is what happened to Peter Capaldi, though. I think he basically was like, okay, he was, he is coming into Washington, D.C., but he's going to be leaving probably not too long afterwards. He's probably doing some other television program, movie part, who knows? I really can't say. So, honestly, it kind of sucks in some ways, but that's just the way it is. But I would have paid the money to see him, and the woman, the character she played, I don't know the actress's name, was the character's name on Doctor Who was Clara Oswald. I don't know the actress's name. And she's really cute. She actually, when they first brought her character on board, was with the last Doctor Who, and she was ultra hot. She was like really hot. So they kind of toned her down and made her look like mousy looking and other things, and people got more and more disinterested in that actress altogether, in her character. I wish I remember her name, but yeah, I would have definitely got a picture, because she was like, she is really hot, but again, they just downplayed her appearance. I don't know what reason that was for, and just made her look just like literally mousy, and I didn't like that. So, okay, before I go any further, again, this is going to be, most of it's going to be occupied by the Rush Limbaugh segment, and I kind of went into that already. But one thing that held me up why I'm doing a show at 12:30, why didn't I do it at 8 o'clock then if I'm going to get up early in the morning? Well, because I was in the middle of watching. It was like, okay, tonight I actually didn't have anybody come over and ask, hey, you want to go out to get something to eat? Whenever. So this was great, because I actually saw this advertised on Svengoolie. The movie he showed this week was called She-Wolf of London, 1946. I was like, wow, this looks pretty cool. I never even knew about this movie. Now, the thing that was really caught my interest, though, was June Lockhart played the main character, who was supposed to be the werewolf in London. So it's a murder mystery instead. Now, you're probably saying, who's June Lockhart? Well, in the movie, I'll tell you who she is. She was a very hot-looking woman, or a young girl. But she's best known because she was the mom in Lost in Space. So I've seen June Lockhart in some TV shows when she was, like, really young. And she was, like, I think she was really, really hot. Obviously, like everybody else, as you get older, you don't look quite the same. Yeah, this was another show I saw where she was really young. Was Wagon Train. Most people don't even know what that is. She was really hot in that. But yeah, this movie kind of had me, like, I had taken some snapshots. I actually put some snapshots up from my phone online of June Lockhart, what she looked like from the film, and I sent them to a friend, too. She's also was on, by the way, she was on Lassie. She was, I guess, a mom in that one. She played in Lassie. She played in Petticoat Junction. She was known for a lot of stuff, but I think she was best known, once again, playing the mom in Lost in Space. But I'll tell you, when I saw her in this movie, it was like, oh, my God. I couldn't believe it. Now, and you hear her voice, you know, because her appearance, even from the few years that was between doing this movie when she was a little younger to doing Lost in Space, look like two different people almost. But the voice is what obviously made you realize, yeah, this is really June Lockhart. So that was pretty interesting. Again, the movie was out in 1946. The funny thing was, this movie was so short, though, on Svengoolie, he actually had to add stuff like skits and showing old skits from his show that normally only take a few minutes here and there because the movies usually cover his time slot. He said, well, this movie is so, you know, it says 1 hour and 1 minute. So, yeah, he had a lot of time to fill because he's got it. Svengoolie on MeTV, Memorable Entertainment TV, he has a 2-hour slot to fill with any given movie, which gives him time to do a couple skits. Now, that's including commercials. So, you know, it gives him a decent amount of time, but this movie, he has a 2-hour slot to fill despite how many commercials they may have put in. How many commercials they could put in, and with his stuff material would not be enough to fill a whole freaking hour, you know, even though, again, minus commercials and stuff. So he was forced to actually really put some heavy padding into tonight's show to cover the difference. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I thought the movie was interesting. It didn't seem that interesting, though. And it was actually a film that was, you know, put out. But again, it says it looked like 1 hour and 1 minute. Yeah, 1 hour, 1 minute. I've never seen a movie that short before. Now, the thing that kind of interests me, though, it's like, God, I'm surprised nobody jumped on this wagon, because there really wasn't, by the way, not to ruin it. If you haven't seen it, a film that came out in 1946 by now, then if I give you any spoilers, that's on you. But the thing was, though, this movie had potential just by the name alone, because remember that they did remake a film, or they made a film similar, not exactly the same at all, of American Werewolf in London. It was just called, by the way. There was a movie called Werewolf in London, and then it became American Werewolf in London back in, the 80s or something? So, but then it was like, what if they would have used this concept with the modern technology of, you know, transforming humans into lichens and stuff? Why didn't they really do that and make a she-wolf from London? That would be like an excellent idea. I mean, yeah, there is a movie called She-Wolf of London, but She-Wolf in London, American She-Wolf of London even. You know how much you could do with that movie and having a woman being transformed and doing the murders? That would be like an excellent idea, I thought. It's like, God, why hasn't anybody capped on this idea of making a female American Werewolf in London? That would be like an excellent idea. Like, they did make some sequel. I think, yeah, they did. It was American Werewolf in Paris, I think it was called. That movie was horrendous. It wasn't nearly as good as American Werewolf in London. But why not cap on the idea of just the name alone, because that's as far as it went, with She-Wolf of London and make it into, again, American Werewolf of London. I mean, a She-Wolf of London. American She-Wolf of London. That would be a really good idea. I don't know, but who knows? Maybe if I ever see Kevin Smith, I'll say, again and get to talk to him. Hey, if you want to do another horror movie, since nobody else is capped on this idea, and you do some horror, why don't you make one called She-Wolf of London? I think it would be a good idea. So I do have a bunch of... Okay, good. I thought I lost the first story I want to talk about. There was some tragic news, too, because Muhammad Ali had passed away yesterday. They said he was just... Apparently, he was just he was ill or something. I think he suffers from the same thing, which kind of worries me now. He suffers from the same thing that Parkinson's disease, the same thing that Michael J. Fox has, which he is actually down in Philadelphia, by the way, Michael J. Fox. So obviously that is pretty serious if you have that. And Michael J. Fox does have that, but now, passed away. And my mother, I guess, was trying to insinuate maybe it was from the, he was a longtime sufferer of Parkinson's disease. So anyway, I'm going to try to be careful. I'm not going to read these stories like I did the other show. That's why I didn't do one, actually. Also, in addition to, I was thinking I was going to go down to Washington, D.C. yesterday, or for today, or Philadelphia, which I'm going to still try to make a feverish attempt just to go down and walk around and take some pictures. That might even be shot by this point. I don't know. So, but when I listened to my show the other day, it was so extremely bad with me trying to read these articles, which I said I stopped for a while there just for the sole purpose that I suck at it. And I tried it again anyway, and it ended up that I really sucked again. So I got to be careful and read in stories, bottom line, because they turn out extremely, extremely bad. So that being said, I am not going to try to read a story again. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase, and I think people should be satisfied with that, and especially for the reasons that I had mentioned before, because I just screw them up. And two, it's just a time constraint. So this is going to fill in the next 12 minutes. I'm going to play it right now. I have it all queued up. It is 12 minutes of Rush Limbaugh. I would seriously say listen to what Rush says very closely, because, again, he does talk about the issues of how, for the last 7.5 years, we have a president who basically has lied about everything, and you got these left-wing liberals who just support what he's doing and don't realize that not only he's lied about everything, he's destroyed our country literally as a country. We've crumbled apart. We've fallen apart. So, listen to that. And I mean, there's other things too. It's just like these forcing companies now to pay for, like I've said before, health insurance. He mentions forcing to pay $15 for entry-level jobs that aren't designed for families. I mean, women or men or whatever you want to call it, to take these jobs just because they're low labor skills. It's not there for them to support their family on an entry-level job. Entry-level jobs are designed for people who are retired or people just entering the business because they're young kids. So listen to the whole thing, because he also gives statistics on a percentage, which if I heard him correctly, that threshold of 94 million people not working has actually won up another million people almost. That now it's either at 95 or 96, 97. It's something like it won up again with the percentage not working. And he even mentions how Obama keeps on pushing that the people that the amount of the unemployment rate is down to like 4.7. He said that's not realistic. He said the last time that the unemployment rate was at 4.7 was when Bush finished his first term, President Bush, and he was actually able to fix a lot of the problems from the predecessor, which was a Democrat, probably Clinton. So listen to this, and if I remember anything else, otherwise I'm just going to kind of go through these stories and call it a night. So let me play this. Please listen to the 12 minutes if you can do so, because I think you will learn a lot that, people just kind of write Rush Limbaugh off right away without even listening to him. So I kind of cut it back to a very good 12 minutes of his show, straight through, by the way. So here we go. Rush Limbaugh on Open Line Friday, 12 minutes of hour 2 of his show from, I think it's the 3rd, so June 3rd, 2016.
But I want to get to the stack that's got nothing to do with this, because there's some really cold and bad economic news out there. It isn't that par for the course here. So Obama goes out to Elkhart, Indiana, and tries to bask in the glory of this phantom recovery that does not exist and has not existed, goes out, tries to claim credit for all this great economic activity, saying things like things are better now than when he took office, and spending is down, the debt is down, wages are up, employment is up. It's just one lie after another. 38,000 jobs created in May. And what kind of jobs do you think they are? 38,000. Have you seen the stories, folks, about robots? A lot of times when people see a story about robots taking over at fast food restaurants, they'll just zoom past it thinking, that's not happening. That's one store, they're trying something. That's so far away. And you ignore it. I'm going to tell you something. It is happening. It's ramping up fast, and I'm going to give you 3 words to explain it. Minimum wage increase. It's the same old saw. Here you have a bunch of central planners, command and control economics experts sitting in national and state capitals, deciding that the market is essentially unfair and this needs to be corrected. And the unfairness of the market is manifesting itself in the fact that nobody's earning enough in the middle class. People aren't seeing any wage increases, no standard of living increases. And, of course, these central planners never stop to think that it was their previous central planning that has led to this, their lack of trust in the market, corporate cronyism involving government and various corporations, all kinds of reasons, the phony trade deals, there's any number of reasons to explain this. And so their solution is not to back out and let the market make the correction. Their solution is to tinker and fix it again. And the minimum wage comes in, and bammo, here we're facing a $15 minimum wage. And as usual, the central planners and the command and control economists at central planning say we're just going to mandate a $15 an hour minimum wage, and the businesses out there are going to have to suck it up and pay it. They've got the money. They've all got a stash of money in the back room they're not using. They're just hoarding it for themselves. We know it. They know it. Well, it's time that money was paid to their employees. So they mandate a $15 an hour minimum wage. And immediately people start becoming unemployed. Businesses who can't afford it fire people. Businesses budget. Responsible businesses budget. Labor is usually the largest or second largest expense in any business. You want to get your fixed costs known for as much time in advance, the future, as you can for other budgetary planning. You also budget what you think your revenue is going to be, what your expenses are going to be. Then you calculate what you hope your profit's going to be, and you start shooting and aiming for it. And then you hope that the market activity that you're counting on happens. And if there's an interruption in anything that you plan, then you have to adjust. That's called dynamics. Central planners don't understand dynamics. Central planners think everything is flat, static. You mandate a $15 an hour minimum wage, that employers are going to pay it. And people making $10 an hour are going to get a $5 an hour raise, and it's a beautiful thing. And they can't believe it when that doesn't happen. Back to the business. Any business that responsibly budgets, it's got its fixed costs for labor. It's a percentage of revenue. There isn't a stash of money hoarded away that the owner or the CEO is keeping for himself. Talking here in the case of most small businesses. So the central planners mandate a $15 an hour minimum wage, which is, let's just say for sake of argument here, $5 an hour increase. Well, they have now got to figure out, the small businessmen, okay, I've got to pay people that are currently making 10, I got to pay them 15, but my entire expenditure on labor cannot increase because I can't afford it. So I'm going to have to fire X number of people if everybody's going to get 15 an hour instead of 10, I've got to fire whatever number of people to keep my budget the same because I can't afford to spend. And that's what happens. And the central planners scratch their heads and they chalk it up to racism and bigotry and bias and who knows what else. Unfairness. They call it the evils of capitalism. Because to them, the private sector economy is a golden goose. There's all kinds of money out there. That's why they can keep robbing it, stealing from it, raising taxes on it, regulating it, whatever. It's a never-ending producing golden goose as far as they're concerned. These are people who have never met a payroll, never owned a business. In the case of Obama's cabinet, there's not one person in his cabinet that's ever had a job in the private sector. Certainly never one that's run a business. Stunning. Stop and think about that. And they're commanding everybody how to run their own businesses. So it gets to the point where small business owners, you know what? They say, not only are they mandating I pay $15 an hour, and I can't really afford it, I've got to fire some people. You know what? Even at $10, $15 an hour, I got people calling in sick. I got people working halfway. I mean, not everybody's a model employee. Not everybody is trying to impress the boss and get a promotion. You give some people in there to dry balls. And so robotics are being tinkered with and invented as part of our tech advancement. And lo and behold, somebody discovers that he can hire a robot to serve burgers and fries at a fast food restaurant. You know what? You don't have to pay the robot. You have to make the original investment, whatever the robot cost. It may be 6 figures, but you amortize that over whatever number of years you finance it. You have a fixed cost on your robot. It's going to cost you exactly this year what it's going to cost next year, and you know what you're going to be paying for this robot over the years, but it's never going to demand a raise. It's never going to get sick. It's never going to get pregnant. It's never going to get a sexually transmitted disease. It isn't going to steal from you. It ain't going to do any of those things. All you got to do is put it in there, and if the tech has been perfected and the robot can handle a drive-through and the robot can handle one of the cash registers, then you are good to go. And whoever was manning those places ends up getting fired. And the command and control central planners scratch their heads and say, what is going on? And the small business, if you had not raised the minimum wage, I wouldn't be doing any of this. But your minimum wage was unfair. It was too low. No, the minimum wage is what the market dictates. These are entry-level jobs. We're talking about people who've never worked before, have very low skills. They're trying to learn things about working. We're teaching them. This is entry-level. We're not feeding a family for a minimum wage. So that's just one reason why this happens. 38,000 new jobs. The unemployment rate, I haven't seen what they reported it at, but it's probably around 5.1, whatever. 4.7? Are you kidding me? That's what they've reported. 4.7, that's not possible. The only way you can get to 4.7% unemployment is if you stop counting the 95 million not in the labor force, because the labor force participation rates reach an all-time high, or low, depending how you look at it. There's a record 94,708,000 Americans not in the labor force. Some of them don't want to be. They've retired. Some of them don't want to be. They can't. Some of them do want to be in the labor force. They can't find work. They can't find a job pays more than $30, 30 hours a week because of Obamacare. 4.7, that's just an outrage. The last time it was legitimately 4.7 was in, I think, George Bush's first term. And that was a legitimate, we had an economy coming out of a recession following 9/11, and it was booming. We do not have a booming economy. Anything of the sort. And everybody knows it. When Obama goes out and tries to talk about it, everybody laughs because you can lie about it all you want, but people are not feeling it because it isn't happening. 4.7. Yeah, exactly. 458,000 people left the workforce. What does that mean? 458,000 people can't find a job. And so the unemployment rate, 4.7%, yeah, as a percentage of a shrinking labor force. But if you throw in these 94.7 million that want to work? There's no way we're looking at 4.7% unemployment. How can you have 4.7% unemployment when you create 38,000 jobs in the month of May? And that's the smallest, that's the least number of jobs created in a month in 5 years. It's an utter disaster. In just 7.5 years, look at the surprising amount of change for the worse everywhere you want to look. Culturally, economically, politically, it is astounding how much damage has been done in 7.5 years. Yet people don't think that's fast. That's a long time, Rush, and the change has been gradual. No, it's really a short period of time. But the amount of change that has taken place is stunning. $38,000 jobs added, worst since September of 2010.
Okay, hey, that was Rush Limbaugh. I got to actually turn up my headset again. There we go. I turned it down because his is actually a little bit different on the level of quality. But, yeah, everything I think I kind of peaked on some of the stuff he mentioned. But he did give some statistics, though, on how our economy has just really hit all-time bottom with just giving stuff to people, having people who are illegals getting stuff, which I don't think he mentioned this time. He did mention it when I had a large segment. Not as long as this one before, but just giving, things to people just because they deserve it, not because they're entitled to it, is not the solution. It has destroyed companies from inside and everything. And I had this happen. I worked at a place called IMS Healthcare, and that job actually replaced human beings. My job, I was gone before them with the job I have now because they replaced human beings with robots. And now they're going to do that with restaurants. They're going to have kiosks to replace people because you don't have to, he says, you won't have to pay for their health benefits. You don't have to pay for their time off, their sick leave, their being delinquent, making up excuses, being sick, being pregnant, blah, blah, blah. He went through a whole list in the early part of that segment. But then he literally says what I said the other day. You got all these people who are not working, but some of these people just don't want to look for work anymore. They're satisfied not working because they're getting everything given to them. So why would you work if you're getting a free cell phone, free housing assistance, free rubbers, I can't even say that word, you know what I mean, contraceptives and stuff. I mean, you're giving them everything, and you're encouraging them not to work just so you can remain in power as a Democrat. This is not the way you run a freaking country. That's the problem. So that's what I want to mention. I had some interesting stories, which once again, I'm going to be probably told that I just dwell on this stuff. Now, before I even say that, the one thing that made me so happy now that, hey, I was really upset for the most part. I'm still a little bit leery that, oh, God, I missed out on two of the best East Coast conventions, not too far in distance from each other from my home, that I missed out on both of them so far. And now I got to choose at this point which one I'm going to end up going to if either one tomorrow today. So that really upset me. So it was okay, this had to be met. I'm taking it as a godsend thing. I'm in Walmart, and I bump into an old group leader / union representative, union official in the store of Walmart, a friend that I really respected a lot. And he was in there with his girlfriend. And I asked him, okay, there are certain things at work that are going on that are not on the up and up. I need to ask your opinion. I know you don't really care for the union part as much as you used to. Because he's got shafted quite a few times. He's been basically thrown under the bus more than once. And this is, by the way, because I'm going to put this as my segment, not from him, But I had to put as a picture that old saying as a I took a political cartoon and made it my segment. So when you look at the cover of my show tonight, it's going to be called "The Pot Calling the Kettle Black." So I took that. Yeah, okay, I got it actually right for change. God, I couldn't get that right when somebody had scripted it for me to read. I couldn't do it at all years ago. So, yeah, the pot calling the kettle black is the theme of my show. And why would I call it that? Because it has, if I'm talking about comic book conventions and Rush Limbaugh, it could actually pertain to what happens with President Barack Obama, the way he severely lies about everything or contradicts himself on pretty much everything. But more so, why I'm calling it that was because when I met this guy, he's very aware with the union rules and regulations, even the company regulations where I work. He told me a few things that I'm not going to say on air. I'm not going to tell pretty much anybody because people think that I have a difficult time holding back. So I will this time. I will not say what was disclosed to me. But let me just put it this way. Being called, which I'm still harping on if you want to put it that way. Yeah, I am harping on it. Being called a crybaby and people just really getting pissed off at me. Apparently these people who came up to me making these accusations, I found out some pretty big skeletons in their closets that was disclosed to me from the person I met tonight at Walmart, who was a former union rep. He might still be. I think he's somewhere on the union council, not as high up as he used to be, but he's somewhere up there. So he actually told me again some pretty big skeletons in people's closets, which I did not know about. So I just want to get people kind of like, oh, what is he holding back? Because I know people at work will listen to me. And they're going to say, I wonder what he's not telling us. It's like, well, I'm not going to tell you because, this time I'm really, I am going to keep my mouth shut because that's what people say I can't do. So I'll let them hang on that one. So, just to prove that, that this time you're going to be, I'm trying to think. You're going to be going, what is he not telling us? I can't even think of the right word. So I'm enjoying that just as much, if not more, not having people not trying to figure out what it is. So all I'll say is that's why I'm calling the show, calling the cover black, because it literally shows you how people are really big hypocrites. Tell me things that about me on what I'm doing wrong, and it's like, or saying how basically almost, they're not saying this directly, so I'm going to let you know this right now, but pretty much they might as well just call me some type of traitor, and which I'm not, that I'm the person who is working against people, and I'm the person who is the misanthrope at this company, which I'm not, or the misanthrope, the hater of all mankind. So I am not. And after I heard from certain people who were coming after me and saying things about me on what I am doing wrong, then hearing stuff about what they are actually doing, again, I'm trying to bite my tongue because one of the things was could get this person a lot of people pissed off if they knew what this individual, he or she, did. It was very serious what they did. It's something you do not do, but they did it. But yet, it's one of these things. They're pointing the finger at me on things I do, and it makes the accusations they make about me on things that I'm doing wrong look like literally a walk in the park. Like it's like a joke compared to what they did. And then I heard other things that they are seriously other people at this job of mine who are majorly breaking rules and regulations, not only with the union that I work for, but get this also, which I have to laugh about, not only union have they broken union rules. They broke serious company rules. And yet they have the gumption to point the finger at me. So how does this make me feel? I'll tell you, I still got those pains in the back of my head, but it made me feel a lot better. It's like, oh, my God, you're making these accusations about me, again, calling the pot calling the kettle black, and you have no room to speak whatsoever. What you have stated about me, what you had insinuated about me, is beyond acceptable on any level. And yet you're just turning the tables. You're trying to turn the tables around, and it's like, no, it's not me that's done things that are brutally wrong. It's this guy Walter. You got to watch out for him. I wouldn't even turn your back. I wouldn't even talk to him. So the stuff I heard is really serious. Now, actually, my father, I made sure, because he's the only one I can consult on this stuff, because he knows about it, and he's had similar situations in the past. I don't want to go into, I'm not going to even tell you try to push it out. I'm not going to tell you what they are, because my friend Matt will say, what kind of situations were similar to the ones you have now that your dad have? Because there end up being, going back to me, that it's something that his situation was not like mine, or that his situation was something that he had taken on from me, which neither are true. So just letting you know, this is none of your business, Matt. If you listen in, this is not your business. So, but my father said, even before I met this guy from work that still works there at Walmart tonight, just to let you know, my dad, we were discussing this afternoon. He says, you have a strong case of them taking my work card away, deactivating. They literally deactivated my card, sent me out for 6 months for no good reason at all, paid me for it to cover up something that they, obviously, my father said they did wrong. He says, you don't take this to a union lawyer. You take this to a lawyer outside the union where they're going to work off a percentage. He says, you have a strong case. I've heard this from, I think, another friend, too. And you know what? It's none of your business on who it is, Matt. So I'm letting you know that right now. Matt, ask me next time I see him. It's none of your business. It really isn't. Just not to be mean, I'm just letting him know. But somebody else had also mentioned that you should take this to a lawyer, and you would have a very good lawsuit against the company I work for. And honestly, I think they know that too. So my company is walking on eggshells with me, because they know that I would have a strong case if I was smart enough to take it to a lawyer who worked off commission. And you're talking probably the lawsuit would be in the millions. So I'll leave it at that for the stuff that, and the stuff I heard from a coworker today would definitely just take that over the edge. That would definitely take it over the edge. The old statement of heads would be rolling would be an understatement. So I don't want to go any further, because that's as far as I'm going to go. I don't think I said anything that gives anybody an idea what's going on at work, but I'm just giving you an idea of what I heard. Again, is not going to be disclosed on my radio show, because I'll just hear about it when I go back to work. But I will definitely keep people on their toes to let them know that I found out things that they think I would never find out about. And it's not from hearing it through gossip through work. This was outside of work. This was on my own time. This was on Saturday afternoon. So it has nothing to do with being in the workplace. Now, what happens outside of work, they're technically going to say, well, you're always on the clock when you work at a job. Yeah, that works in retail, that bullshit story of like, well, even when you're off the clock, because this happened when I worked at places like I Got It at Gary's. They said when you're off the clock, when you walk in that store, you're still technically on the clock, even though you're not getting paid, because customers come in there and they see you, and if you act out of line or do something inappropriately, they're going to affiliate that way you act with the person when you're actually on the clock. So yeah, you're always on the clock for places like that. Where I work, it's a private organization. It's not that I'm walking on their private property at that time when I was this information was disclosed to me. So guess what? What comes off of what came through on a podcast that 5 people listened to, or probably 2, and what is disclosed with me and this other person has nothing to do, and you can't stop me from saying what I'm thinking. So guess what? You can't hold me accountable for what I'm saying right now, or that I was saying something that would cause any problems, because it had nothing to do that I was on their private property making these accusations or whatever you want to call them. So they're not even accusations. These are actually factual statements. And just to clarify, there is a difference. I'm not making up, because making up stories would be considered slanderous. Telling facts is exactly what I'm just saying. It's a fact. And again, Matt, it's none of your business. You ask me too many questions and try to drill me like you did that past weekend, last weekend. Anyway, so that's the end of that, because it is going on 1 o'clock. I want to get this done before, not too long, so I can put it up. The podcast, which will go up by, it won't make any difference, because by the time people would actually dig into my show, it won't be until Sunday afternoon, but it will go up in the next hour or so. It is now going on 1 a.m. Now, again, my one friend who was digging into me being, making big deals out of sex scandals, this is the reason why this needs to be addressed properly, including especially with women. Because on June 2nd, there was a story from PIX11 that said a woman allegedly performed a sex act on a 1-year-old and recorded it on a barred cell phone. So you can find that story, but this woman, and this is not the first time I heard this, and this is not an isolated case. This is like the 3rd one in the last month. To me, that's pretty serious. On a 1-year-old. So you can't use that excuse, and it was a little boy, a 1-year-old boy. It's an infant. You can't use that excuse, this is not going to affect the kid. The kid's too young. The kid is a boy. A male's not going to be as devastated as a woman would be. You're talking a 1-year-old, and they use the word infant. According to the documents, it says. So don't give me this excuse that, this is going to strengthen this boy. It's an infant. You mean, you would have to be a total moron to think that an infant being sexually assaulted by a woman is okay just because it's a boy. I mean, if whoever believes that really needs to get some psychiatric help, more so than I ever would have ever had. So, this is what happens when you basically just give women a slap on the wrist every single time, or you make it into a laughing matter that, why are you making such a big deal out of a woman sexually assaulting a kid? Because most of the time they're 17 or 18. That is the case. That is the point. But it also is the point, then when that becomes acceptable by society, what do you do when you get away with doing something you're not supposed to do? You try to see how far you can push that envelope, or how far you can push this inappropriate behavior, and it does not stop until you finally get the proper punishment. And the only ones who are getting properly punished 99% of the time, 100% of the time, are males sexually assaulting females. But females sexually assault males is still just a laughing matter in our country. So just letting you know that. So again, how do you stop this situation? Well, you should have nipped it at the bud, but since now you haven't, and the red flags have been going up constantly for years now, and you still don't pay attention to them, it has now turned into what it is. What I just read, and this has been one of 3 cases in the last 1 or 2 months of women, literally, because I had other stories somewhere buried in my Facebook pages that I saved them there. Women sexually assaulting infants. So that is very serious. This is not a laughing matter. It never was, and it especially is not now. So hey. I don't need to go any further because on this next story I was going to read, I don't really have to go into it too far, but I put it up about this activist on minimum wage could land colleagues in the unemployment line, because Rush actually covered that for me. This is why I love when I can pull large segments of Rush's show or other segments from other people, because it just makes it that much easier for me to get the point across more clearly. So just reading, I haven't used this source in ages, Smoking Gun. It says he got those implants in his head. This horned Arizona man arrested, 53-year-old man arrested for bloody knife attack on his wife. So, I don't know. So you can see that it's on Smoking Gun. See, I'm not going to read these. Thanks to my little friend Matt at work, he found one from Action News from yesterday. DA killing of a robber at Levittown Pharmacy in a public service. So some guy got stabbed to death at in Levittown Pharmacy. Yeah, Levittown, PA, Bucks County. So I mean, it's just dangerous. One story, by the way, I don't know if I put it in this mix. It was I had to read it because it was pretty. It's pretty interesting. Here it is. I don't know if I read this the other day because I think it was up. Let's see what the date was. It was June 3rd, so actually it was Friday. So I didn't do a story then. I'll just read the title because that says a lot. But a woman charged after mother's body found in freezer sold at a yard sale. So, and this was in North Carolina, by the way, because I have my brother who lives down there, so I thought it was pretty funny. But this woman sold a freezer, and I guess she didn't realize she put her mother's dead body. Obviously, she murdered her mother and put it in the freezer and forgot about it. Now, get this. It says, this I have to read. Police said the neighbor bought the freezer from somebody, Lee, the person's name was Lee, for $30. So they got a little extra surprise in the freezer. Now, wouldn't you notice there was like a little extra weight when you're carrying this freezer? It's probably one of those meat freezers, but the mother's body was in the freezer. No joke. So, yeah, I've got to remind myself to tell my mother about that. Actually, wait a minute, though. Maybe I should have read this one. It says, an autopsy revealed that there was no signs of foul play on the death of the 75-year-old Arma Ann Roosh, who lived with her daughter. Roosh was last seen in August. So you know what that's probably about? This is like an educated guess at this point. Why would the daughter not expose that her mother passed away? Think about it. If she's living with the mother, especially. Because once the mother is deceased, her mother's not going to no longer be able to collect on, retirement benefits, whatever. So, educated guess, I'm sure the reason she didn't say that her mother passed away was she was keeping it as though the mother was still alive so she could still get the mother's benefits. And things like that, stranger things like that, have happened, believe it or not. So don't be surprised if that was the case. I just thought it was entertaining all the way around, so that's why I had to read it. There was one actually, looks like the Times Herald. Doesn't even have it titled. Oh, no, it was a reporter. Something about in Talamenson, a 17-year-old North Penn High School student admitted to setting an arsenal fire on May 24th in the high school. So that's not far from where I live is North Penn High School. It's like literally down the road from nearby where I work. So because there's a couple different companies. I'm kind of just glancing because this is a lengthy story. It says the high school sustained an estimated $800,000 worth of damage. And it says about $500,000 in structural, $300,000 in damages in instrumental and sheet music. So it must have been somewhere that part of the school where they have, what do you call it, music teachers or something. It was a student that destroyed, again, did I say 8? Because that would be more like 800. Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I say 8,000? But it was $800,000 worth of damage was caused by this one kid who started a fire at the North Penn High School. Again, I did mention, unfortunately, that Muhammad Ali did pass away today, so I feel bad about that. Sorry to hear that. I'm not sure what else to say because I haven't heard about him in such a long time. So I remember he was really big when I was younger, so he was talk of the town. So that's a shame. This was pretty funny because he's actually, this next story, this guy is actually at the comic book convention down in Philadelphia right now. It says WWE superstar Sheamus would love to play Venom. This guy looks kind of goofy, and he's like, he really wants to play Venom. Now, he is down in Philadelphia. I probably could ask him if I could get close, but I'm not going to bring any type of equipment to record him, minus my phone. It says, fresh off the roll as Rocksteady in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, out of the shadows, WWE superstar Sheamus Stephen Farley is dropping hints that he'd love to play Spider-Man's evil doppelganger. So that would be pretty interesting. I know I said, I'm not going to read any of these stories, and I started reading something, so it's not going to go any further, trust me. My favorite one, this might be the last one, because again, wow, it still will be over an hour and a half, at least over an hour, thanks to the Rush Limbaugh thing. But this story, she's really hot looking too. Stacey Dash, the other day, she just went off on this thing about transgender people should pee in bushes instead of bathrooms. And I watched a video with her at work the other day, and I was applauding her. I love her this much more. She's a black girl. I think she actually played in Clueless. She's a really attractive-looking woman, too, by the way. But she basically said that, would you want your kids to be, have a guy, and she was even pointing out about Caitlyn Jenner, that one day they feel like a woman, the next day they feel like a man. Yeah, it says the former Clueless star is no stranger to controversy. So I just wanted to give this woman, I want to do many things to her. She's really hot. But I'd love to give her a high five just on what she was saying. She doesn't fall for this bullshit that, if you feel like a woman, you should be allowed to go into a woman's bathroom, especially when, if you're a woman and you're taking your kids into that bathroom, you don't want them to be exposed to what she even felt like, what I gathered from the way she was talking. You don't want your children to be exposed to sexual predators, because that's what I said you're going to end up getting. And she kind of said the same thing, because just because one person one day feels like, I feel like a woman today, I could say that. I could put on a dress and say, in a wig, and I already shaved my legs, so that's no problem. And say, yeah, you know what? Today I feel like a woman, so I'm going to put on a bra and panties and a dress. I'm going to go in the women's room, but then get a camera and just kind of peep under the stalls at women while they're doing their business. Or, basically fondle a woman and say, well, hey, why should I be held accountable for this? Now, you're going to say, well, that's not what's going to happen. These women really feel like women. Well, what is that percentage? For one thing, the percentage of women who truly are people who feel like they are who are, I should say, I really went off in the wrong direction, who are truly transgenders is less, I think, than 1% or less than 2%. So, but yet the way they're built up on the news, you would think it'd be a higher percentage than there really actually is, or what there actually are out there. They're really just kind of making it seem like this is a major big deal. There's so many transgenders out there, they really should deal with this. That this is a really important topic. No, you're just opening up truly for the less than 1%. you're open up the floodgates for every sexual predator to be able to go into a man's bathroom. So, a man's bathroom. Oh, yeah, that would be not a problem then, right? Because if they're men, it wouldn't be a problem. I'm referring to the one side, not the other. It wouldn't be a problem. This is going to be a problem for the women's ladies' rooms. You know what, though? It actually has gotten so serious, by the way. This is no joke, it really bothers my mother because she actually tonight, she had to go when she was in Walmart. She said, I got to use the bathroom. And she saw the bathroom for, like, when you have kids, there's that bathroom for, it says families. It's basically if you have to change your kid's diaper or anything like that. Some places had this for quite a while. That, they had bathrooms for, changing rooms for, for families, like if you're a dad, so you don't have to go in the men's room with your daughter, or if you're a mom and you have to take your son, little kid, in to change his diapers. I think this is probably the reason they did this. They made what's called family restrooms. They have them over the King of Prussia Mall, too, by the way. And the purpose of that is so you can change your kid, or, if you want to go in the bathroom and you don't have to deal with a lot of people. There's those bathrooms that are there for that reason. Not for any other reason, but now I guess they probably will be. So anyway, the cut to the chase, my mother saw this bathroom in the back of Walmart in Trooper, and it said family bathroom, and my mom says, oh, no, I'm not going in there. She thought it was like with Target. It's all over the news. I'm not even kidding about this. She thought it was like one of these Target deals that men can go in the same bathroom as a woman to use the bathroom. She also thought that because the men's bathroom and the woman's bathroom are right next to each other, they don't have doors on the bathrooms. You can't see in them, though. But they do have doors on the bathrooms. So right away, this is another thing. My mother thought right away, she said, oh, I'm not using the bathroom. And she was upset. She really had to go to the bathroom. She says, oh, I can't go to the bathroom now. And I said, why? Why are you having such a hard time having to use the bathroom if you really when she has to go, she has to go. So you can't stop her from using it. But she was willing to basically piss herself before she went in the bathroom. And the reason why was, and I had explained to her this is not the case. She was so upset that she was afraid that there was going to be men in the ladies' bathrooms. So this is what it's led to. My mother now is afraid to go into the women's room. She's afraid because of this ridiculous thing now that she's petrified to go in a public bathroom. God, I wish I was making that one up. I'm not, because that happened tonight, by the way. So there you go again. So thanks, Obama, for that too, I guess. You ruin it that women are actually afraid. I'm sure it's not just my mother. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sure it's not just my mom. There's other people who feel the same way. So once again, Obama, thank you so much for screwing up even more of the economy. So anyway, folks, this is Walter from iWalter. Somehow, miraculously, boy, I truly have the gift of gab, because it's going on an hour and 20 minutes almost of me doing this show, which I don't know how I did that, but I'm not complaining. So I thank myself for that. I will see if I can make it to tomorrow's convention down in Philly, either by driving down 76 or taking the train down. I'm not sure yet. Because either way, I'm going to have to pay for parking at a parking garage in Norristown, or paying for parking down in Philadelphia, and paying for train fare. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Personally, it'd be much easier, because the trains tomorrow, believe it or not, are running every hour. Just to take a train down, it's going to be an hour either way on the train or me driving. Plus, I don't have to deal with the traffic in Philly, which is always a living freaking nightmare. So I'll have to see, and if I can get up at a decent time, because normally I'll get up at 2 or 3. It's like, okay, the convention, by the time I get down there, I'll buy a ticket just to leave again. So that's going to be a tough one for me, unless I set my alarm for a couple hours from now to get up, which I might end up doing. I might do that. Anyway, folks, this is Walter from iWalter. I try to keep short from those stories because I could not get through my own segment from the other day. It was just that bad. Me trying to read through these stories and just really tripping over my feet on trying to pronounce names and other things. Thanks again. This is Walter from iWalter. And yes, I am signing off for now. Maybe tomorrow I'll be back and I can tell you some stories about what happened down in Philly. I doubt I'm going to D.C. to see Doctor Who. Have a good night or a good morning wherever you're at. And I'll hopefully have some new material in the next day or so. This is Walter. Signing off for now.